Hello, I'm Jeremiah Bostic, and I'm here to show you how to easily make home-style biscuits from scratch. It's a pretty simple recipe, and goes great with anything, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Now the ingredients are pretty basic. You just need milk, flour, butter, sugar, salt, and baking powder. Now, I actually substitute the salt since I use salted butter, so I will not be using that with this recipe. And here are some of the things you're going to need. Most of it's pretty simple and basic. Note that I actually use a cast iron pan to bake with, but not with this recipe, but you can use one. Now, next up is you want to start mixing your ingredients, and the first one is the dry ingredients, which is 2 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. You can also add in your salt, which is just a pinch of salt here. You can also add in more sugar if you want. General thumb is you can add sugar up to 1 tablespoon. You can mix it really well using your hands or a whisk, and simply just make sure it's well mixed. Next up is you want to take a half stick of butter, or half cup of butter, or a whole stick of butter. You want to slice it up real nice and thin. Generally, the thinner it is, the better it is to cut. You can also use frozen butter, which actually looks really well for this recipe. It makes the biscuits nice and fluffy. And yeah, next up is you want to cut it in. I show 2 methods listed or shown here. You can use 2 butter knives to essentially cut in the butter, or you can use what I think is called the pastry cutter to simply roll it back and forth to cut the butter in. And the end result is you should look like roughly kind of like cornmeal, nice, coarse, and thick. You don't want to cut it in too fine, because then the biscuits won't be fluffy. You also want to make a well in the middle, because the next step is you're going to pour in the milk, which is 3/4 cup milk, more or less as needed. Just general thumb is here, you pour it right in the middle. Try to keep it in the middle as much as possible, because the next step is kind of important, especially if you do it in my method, which is mixing it by hand. I like to mix it by hand, it gets a little dirty. What I simply do here is run my fingers along the side of the bowl, and I push the ingredients towards the middle into the milk. Continue to repeat that, essentially kneading it a little bit till it turns into a ball, like shown here. With this recipe, you do not want to over knead the dough. If you over knead it, it would actually go from being a dry ball of dough to a slightly damp one. After you're done doing that, you want to preheat your oven to 425, and yeah, no higher, no less. And next step is you want to prep your area where you're going to roll out your dough. And how you do that is by sprinkling a little flour onto the surface, like shown here. Yeah, not much flour is needed, just enough to actually sprinkle it. I actually kind of went overboard here a little bit. And then the next step is you want to start rolling out your dough. Now you can use a rolling pin, or like how I like to do it is just by using my hands, palm of my hand, smash it down till it's flat to your desired thickness, which is roughly 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch. And here you can use a biscuit cutter, or like I did, the bottom of a glass. Just make sure you flour the bottom of the glass a little bit, and then put it on your greased baking sheet or your greased cast iron skillet if you do that method. And they should look, pretty round like they do here. And then once You get all of your biscuits rolled out and cut out. You should have 12, but since I made mine a little bit on the thick side, I ended up with 11 here. And roughly by the time you get done doing this, the oven should be preheated, and that is the next step, is putting them into the oven. General rule of thumb here is you want to put it in the middle of the oven, especially if you have an oven like mine where you have two heat sources, one on top and one on bottom. If you have one of those older style ovens, you want to put the biscuits closer to the heat source, i.e. towards the bottom or towards the top. Now, next is setting the timer. Generally, I bake these 10 to 12 minutes. 12 minutes being a little bit on the more well done side of the biscuits. Basically, they come out very golden brown, like here. Baked them for 12 minutes, and these actually do look pretty good. And yeah, and that's basically all the recipe is. And they're pretty delicious, pretty simple to make. Generally, I can make these in 15 minutes. And like I said, they go great with everything. Jelly, gravy, honey, like anything. And well, I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you use the recipe, and thanks for watching.